This is the
South China Sea.
Tensions are rising in one of the most hotly contested regions.
South China Sea.
That this is happening at a time when Beijing and Washington are having very tense relationships and distrust between both sides are at an all-time high.
The South China Sea tensions, exploring the high stakes and strategic importance. The South China Sea has become a geopolitical hotspot in recent years, with competing territorial claims from China, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, Brunei, and Taiwan. This region has become a hotbed of geopolitical maneuvering and brinksmanship. But what's driving these tensions? And why is the South China Sea so strategically important? First, let's take a step back and look at the historical context. China has long claimed sovereignty over much of the South China Sea, citing historical maps and documents that it says prove its ownership. However, other countries in the region have their own claims, and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS, has established a framework for resolving disputes based on international law. Despite this framework, tensions have continued to simmer in the region, with China in particular taking aggressive steps to assert its claims. In recent years, China has built artificial islands in the South China Sea and installed military facilities on them, a move that has been met with widespread condemnation from other countries in the region, as well as from the United States. So why is the South China Sea so strategically important? For starters, it's a major shipping route. More than $3 trillion worth of goods pass through the South China Sea each year, including oil, natural gas, and other resources. Disruptions to this shipping lane could have serious implications for global trade and the world economy. In addition, the South China Sea is rich in natural resources, including oil and natural gas reserves. China, in particular, has been eager to tap into these resources, which it sees as crucial to fueling its economic growth. However, other countries in the region also have claims to these resources, which has led to tensions and disputes. But perhaps most importantly, the South China Sea is a key strategic location for military purposes. The United States, in particular, sees the region as a crucial part of its security strategy in Asia. With China's growing military power and assertiveness, the U.S. has been keen to maintain a presence in the region to ensure stability and deter potential aggression. This has led to a sort of game of chicken between the U.S. and China, with both sides taking steps to show their resolve. The U.S. has conducted freedom of navigation operations in the South China Sea, sailing its warships through areas that China claims as its own. China, in turn, has been expanding its military capabilities in the region, including building up its naval forces and developing new weapon systems. All of this has led to a tense and unstable situation in the South China Sea. The risk of miscalculation or escalation is high, and any conflict in the region could have serious consequences for the entire world. The U.S. and China both have a lot at stake in this game of geopolitical chess, and neither side seems willing to back down. So where do we go from here? The ideal solution would be for all parties to sit down at the negotiating table and come to a peaceful resolution of their disputes based on international law. However, given the current political climate and the deep-seated tensions in the region, this seems unlikely in the near term. In the meantime, it's important for all sides to exercise restraint and avoid taking steps that could escalate tensions further. The U.S. and China in particular need to be careful not to let their rivalry spiral out of control and lead to a potentially catastrophic conflict. At the same time, other countries in the region need to continue to work together to assert their own claims and resist Chinese encroachment. This could include joint military exercises, diplomatic efforts to build alliances, and economic cooperation to reduce China's leverage in the region. Ultimately, the future of the South China Sea remains uncertain. The stakes are high, and the risks of conflict and instability are significant. However, there are also reasons for hope. Despite the tensions in the region, there have been efforts to build bridges and find common ground. One example of this is the Code of Conduct in the South China Sea, which is being negotiated between China and the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN. The code is intended to establish guidelines for behavior in the South China Sea and reduce the risk of conflict. While negotiations have been slow and fraught with difficulties, The fact that they are taking place at all is a positive sign. Another potential avenue for progress is through increased economic cooperation and integration in the region. The ASEAN-led Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership (RCEP) agreement, which was signed in November 2020, is one example of this. This agreement creates a free trade area encompassing 15 Asia-Pacific countries, including China and several Southeast Asian nations. By deepening economic ties between countries in the region, the hope is that this will lead to greater stability and reduce the likelihood of conflict. Ultimately, however, the resolution of the tensions in the South China Sea will require a fundamental shift in the geopolitical landscape. It will require countries to prioritize cooperation over competition and to put aside their narrow interests in favor of the common good. It will require a recognition that no one country can dictate the future of the region and that all parties must work together to find a solution that is acceptable to all. This is easier said than done, of course. The geopolitical realities of the region are complex, and there are many entrenched interests that will need to be overcome. But the stakes are simply too high to do otherwise. The South China Sea is a critical part of the global economy and a key strategic location for military purposes. It is also home to millions of people who have a right to live in peace and security. As such, the tensions in the South China Sea cannot be allowed to continue indefinitely. The risks of conflict and instability are simply too great. Instead, all parties must work together to find a peaceful and equitable solution to their disputes, one that is based on international law and respects the rights and interests of all. Only then can the South China Sea truly become a source of stability and prosperity for the region and the world. The recent tensions and strategic importance of the South China Sea are complex and multifaceted issues that require careful consideration and analysis. We hope that this video has provided you with a better understanding of the key factors at play and their potential paths forward. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing to our channel for more insightful content on geopolitics, international relations, and other important topics. By staying informed and engaged, we can all contribute to a more peaceful and just world.